So back at Stephen C. Foster, did Suge Knight go to Stephen C. Foster with you?
Yes, Suge Knight did go to Stephen C. Foster.
He's got to be a couple years younger than you, though.
Yes, he is. Suge is 54. 54 and 57 now. Yeah, I'll be 58 in March, he'll be 55 in April. We went all the way to the 6th grade then there.
Yeah.
So when I was in the 6th, he was like 3rd grade. I think him and Reggie probably was like in the same grade together or some shit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was just, I guess, an ordinary kid back then, huh?
We were all ordinary kids back then. Yeah. In fact, when we were at elementary school at Foster, on the back side of it, where my mom lives at, there was a baseball field back there. Mm-hmm. And we were all involved in sports. Everybody's at the baseball field every weekend. We're playing games. We had, several teams. All the homies in the neighborhood were on different teams. Our parents ran the snack bar as far as the refreshments and stuff like that. So he was academic and athletically sound. You know what I'm saying? And we all saw this and we knew this. And he had great potentials. And he was great in football, right? In fact, when we used to go up to Linwood High School to watch the games, when we would leave out of here off this block or wherever we was at in this sector right here to go to the game, 20, 30 of us, right? We're only going up there to watch the game because Suge is playing.
I guess there wasn't a big connection with Suge because Suge wasn't hanging out with the mob and the Lueders during them years, middle school and high school years.
No, because he was into his sports and his school, his schooling. Yeah, that's what he was into. So, but he came around and he'll drive through and he'll holler, "Hey, CJ, what's up?" I'll be like, "Hey, Suge, what's happening?" He'll holler at the homies, you know what I'm saying? But he wasn't hanging out like, like shooting dice on the corner and drinking wine and all that like we was doing. He wasn't doing that.
And he definitely wasn't fighting no Crips.
And he wasn't fighting no Crips. He didn't have to fight no Crips. We was already doing that. He didn't have to do that, you know what I'm saying? He did what he was supposed to do. And because of what he did, it got him to where he had gotten to. Mm-hmm. Had it not been for that, would there be a Suge Knight in Death Row? Who knows?
Yeah. Okay, so around 1988, 89, he decides to get into the music business, and by 91, 92, he's got Death Row Records. I know you went to prison.
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. Before me and Gangster Nate catch our 15-year sentence, I'm fresh out of prison. I'm coming from my mom's house, walking toward Mr. Ray house. Suge pulls up on me, 88, asks me to go somewhere out of town with him, but I was on parole and I couldn't go. I didn't have no ID anyway. I couldn't get on a plane anyway. I ain't got no fucking ID. How the fuck I'm gonna get on a plane, right? So I don't go. 1989, me and Gangster Nate catch a 15-year sentence, go to prison. While I'm in prison, in 91, 92 maybe, I'll say 92, could have been 93, Mob Trey comes there.
Trevon Lane.
Trevon Lane comes to the prison, and I'm there. Gangster Sam from Lueders Park is there. Johan from Limehood, rest in peace, is there. Vincent Marshall from Hollywood is there. Boston from Limehood is there. Big Al from the Mob Piru Glen Christmas is there. So we're all there. Mob Pirus, Lueders Park Pirus, Hollywood Pirus, Limehood Piru. We all in this prison together. Here comes Trevon Lane, right?
Well, real quick, Trevon Lane was a youngster back then.
He was a youngster.
I'm assuming most of the homies on the yard didn't even know who he was.
Didn't even know who he was.
Okay, go continue.
But that's my little homie. So when he comes, I'm there. So that was a relief for him, you know what I'm saying? And I was happy to see him, you know what I'm saying? Because why you here? What you doing here? You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, you coming to prison now? So we talking, he says, "Hey, Suge started a record company." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, he got Dr. Dre and them with him, so on and so forth." And I'm like, "Well, Trey, Dr. Dre's with Easy and them." He's like, "Well, no, Suge got him out the contract, so on and so forth." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, I can call him on the phone right now." So Trey gets on the prison phone on the wall. We ain't got no cell phones back then. He's calling collect. and he called Suge, and he's talking with him, and he puts me on the phone with Suge, and I talked to Suge. You know what I'm saying? That was the very first time that I had spoken to Suge since 1988 when he stopped and asked me to go somewhere with him, and I wasn't able to go, right? But from that moment that Trevon put me on the phone with him, I've been in contact and talking with him from then on.
So you get out in 97, and right, 97?
97.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you end up going right to death row, right?
I go to death row when
Even
I
though Suge's not there.
Suge's not there. I go to death row when I get to death row. Suge's not there. Of course, Pac is dead.
Is Reggie running it?
Reggie's running it.
Yeah.
Reggie's running it. I go there with Bunchy, and as a matter of fact, when I go in there, because you know we all know about Reggie. Reggie used to be the police, so on and so forth. Right? But the nigga cool, you know what I'm saying? Because I know when I used to go to the COMPTON jail and shit, the nigga would give me extra food, give me extra phone calls and shit like that. Right?
Yeah.
We grew up down the street from each other, so I know his dad and everything, and they know me well. So I go and he's there, you know.
He's running it now, kind of.
He's kind of running it there. He's there, right? And Neckbone was there, but Neckbone had to go back to prison for something, so he was there just a short time when I got out in 97. And I kind of like Bunchy, I'm like, what this nigga doing up in here? I'm like, you know, this nigga police, man.
Yeah.
So Bunchy like, oh man, you know, with Suge, man, they, you know, he like, man, it's cool, man, woo. And I'm like, all right, man, you know, I'm nigga the police though, man. You know, cause I don't come from that. You know, we don't, it's like, how did he end up in here?
Yeah,
right?
Right there.
But then maybe it goes back to when they was at high school.
Yeah, and plus that was
And,
Suge's decision.
And that's Suge's decision. See, that's the thing. You know what I'm saying? It's his record company. He has the right to do whatever the hell he want to do.
Yeah.
It's his shit.
And some of the homies was cool with it too?
And some of the homies, and I was like, okay, well, Bunchy is cool with it. You know what I'm saying? Me and Bunchy type be the best of boys. You know what I'm saying? The best of boys. You know what I'm saying? I immediately, you know, grew attached to Bunchy from the very moment that I met him. The very moment that I met him. Even though James is older, you know what I'm saying? James was a little more hostile back then. You know, he was aggressive. You know, he hostile. You know, he want to beat everybody, whoop everybody. You know what I'm saying? You know, he always want to carry around a stick or some old shit and, you know, hit on motherfuckers. And he was more hostile. You know what I'm saying? Bunchy was more laid back. You know, that wasn't his character. Yeah. He was more mellow. You know what I'm saying? He was about the business. Don't get me wrong. He was about the business, but he was more laid back. So yeah, I get to death row, and Bunchy's, you know, he's there. Lip Dog's there. Mob Trevon is there. And Reggie. Of course, now at that time, there's no artists there.
Yeah, Pac is already dead.
Pac is dead. Snoop is on his way to No Limit. The Realist, he didn't really do too much. Daz came through a couple of times. As a matter of fact, when I got out, the last thing that was being pushed out was Daz Revenge, Retaliation, and Get Back's album, outside of the gang-related soundtrack. So that's when I was there working with Bunchy, you know what I'm saying, through Suge and Reggie and them.
And that was pretty much the downfall of
that was the downfall. It was really, when I first got there and went into the office, it was such of a somber feeling. You know what I'm saying? It was really quiet. You know, I think everybody was like kind of like still like, you know, in mourning behind what happened with Pac and Suge being arrested and having to go to prison, and how do we survive? How does the company survive without the boss being here? You know, we all know how that played out, you know what I'm saying? Because no one else can run the death row but Suge. Yeah. You know, I mean, Reggie did the best he could, but it was a difficult task trying to salvage that at that time. It was a tough time. It was a tough time. It was hard. You
kind of missed the heyday of death row.
I did.
I guess the heyday of death row was from 92 to 96.
90, right. 92. And then I also think, you know, I think too, you know what I'm saying, because of Suge coming up the way he came up, and then he starts this record company, and then within a couple of years, this record company is estimated at damn near $500 million.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Who in the hell, I don't even think that he thought that would happen like that. You know what I'm saying? Now here's this big old explosion, you know what I'm saying, of Death Row Records. You know what I'm saying? And the revenue that's being made from this company. Now you got Suge and got all the homies, you know what I'm saying? Now, I want to say this. I have to say this. here's a man that grew up in our neighborhood way before some of the homies even came to the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? He's a fabric of the community. He didn't have to come, after he started his record company, he didn't have to come back here to employ nobody. He didn't have to do that. Why did he come back here and initially start working with James? You know what I'm saying? James was the first one working with him. You know what I'm saying? James was running Let Me Ride Hydraulics.
Yep.
I'm in prison, I'm calling, I'm talking to James. Yeah, I'm up here, we running the low rider shop and woo, 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 woo. And they still up in here and I can hear, oh, nigga, you blah, blah, woo. I'm like, what's going on? Man, this nigga James tripping, he running around here with these guns and shit and woo. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what are y'all doing? So now here's a man, he starts a record company, he's successful in it, he comes back, he employs his homie, he gives them job opportunities, put them in shops to run, right? The shop fails.
Thanks for watching StreetTV.net. If you're not subscribed, please hit that button below and click the bell to receive alerts and notifications. Feel free to comment below so you can give us your feedback, and be sure to watch the 2 related episodes to the right. If you want to support this platform or follow us on social media, visit the links in the description. And thanks for watching StreetTV.net.